The Canadian Grand Prix is the first of two back-to-back transatlantic races. There's a lovely buzz around the city of Montreal. It's race 8 in F1 2004. Hello there. We didn't think we'd be coming here this year. For a long time the race was off the calendar following a row about tobacco advertising. Happily, that was sorted out. Canada's biggest sporting event was saved. Our reward is absolutely beautiful weather, a massive crowd despite the absence of local hero Jacques Villeneuve, and Jenson Button involved in a stunning climax to qualify. Michael Schumacher's trying to become the first driver to win the same Grand Prix 7 times. He's out early. There's a touch of oversteer in the Ferrari as well. With quicker cars to come, there's no chance of a 7th Montreal pole. Jenson Button's BAR follows the champion, carrying the cross of St. George. Button is unbelievably quick, kicking Schumacher down the grid. Button delivers a stunner. That's a full second up on the world champion, around 3 seconds faster than last year's pole. Takuma Sato's been quicker than his teammate, but he makes mistakes and then overcooks it, with the champions wall looming at the end of the lap. Go to the back of the class, Sato. Ralf Schumacher is last to go, the only man who can deny Button pole position. BMW Williams had a very poor Friday. They find the right setup now. It's a big step forward and a big surprise too. The team's first pole since Hockenheim last season, the margin just 0.06 of a second. So, Ralf Schumacher and Button up front. Trulli, such a fast starter, threatening Button. Montoya fourth, that's Williams' best of the season. Alonso in shape to prolong his record of scoring at every race. Then Michael Schumacher, still confident. Barrichello, the Brazilian, had a major engine refit before qualifying. The McLarens, Raikkonen and Coulthard hoping for points with the new car around the corner. 10th, Klean's best ever for Jaguar. 8 Michelin runners in that top 10. Montreal specialist Fisichella putting his Sauber ahead of the Toyotas. Webber made a big mistake. Heidfeld, he'd have been on pole in the Jordan with that time last year. Sato fuming among the tail enders. It's the best of the Canadian Grand Prix with Martin Brundle and James Allen.
70 laps then of the 2.7-mile Gilles Villeneuve circuit for the winner of the Canadian Grand Prix. It's going to be coming up soon there. Sato in the pit lane. We're ready to start. Let's go! Great start by Button and great start by Trulli. He's trying to get through. Now he's got a problem. Trulli's got a problem, I think. That's Alonso through Button. That's just what he needed. The Renaults haven't got past him. I think it's pretty sure it's Trulli, but there's contact there with the 2 McLarens and one of the Jaguars involved. 2 of the Jaguars involved as well. Yellow flag down in that area, but everyone is safely away, I think.
Yes, I think it was Coulthard caught up at the back. Looks like he got a tap. And one of the Renaults out of the race already, but certainly coasting anyway. We believe it's Trulli. So, and the Ferraris got away reasonably well, but Raikkonen has managed to pass Barrichello.
Yeah, very strange start there for Jarno Trulli. Nothing really seemed to impede him. He just dropped the clutch and then didn't really go anywhere fast. First 20 yards are okay, and then he suddenly crawled. Ralf Schumacher leads then from Jenson Button in 2nd place. Alonso for Renault 3rd, Montoya 4th. Michael Schumacher up to 5th. 6th is Raikkonen, 7th Barrichello, 8th Cristiano de Mata, and 9th Olivier Panis. Timo Glock on his Grand Prix debut is up in 10th place as a result of that tangle between the 2 McLarens.
Yes, and managed to navigate his way nicely through that, but Ralf Schumacher with a comfortable advantage then to come to the completion of this first lap. Ralf Schumacher from Jenson Button, Alonso, Montoya, Michael Schumacher, Raikkonen, Barrichello, de Mata, Panis, Glock. We've got Coulthard down in 16th place at the moment.
Well, I reckon Michael Schumacher will be smiling to himself here, Martin, because he's got 1 Renault out of his way already. He's up to 5th place. There's only Alonso's Renault in front of him. It really did seem today the smart money was on Renault versus Ferrari. Here, let's have a look at Trulli again on your right of your screen.
Yes, look at that. He got away brilliantly. Was just shaping up to have a look at the back of Ralf Schumacher alongside Jenson Button, and it all came to a grinding halt. There he is in the pit lane. 2 cars starting from the pit lane. That was dangerous. And Sato drives out of the exit of the pit straight into an incident. Manages to miss them all. And lots of drama then between Coulthard and the 2 Jags.
Yeah, it looked like Klean actually tapped Coulthard from behind going into that corner. That looked like what it was. Christian Klean, career best, 10th on the grid, but it's come to nothing. Mark Webber comes into the pits with a front right puncture, so he's had problems as well. The 2 Jags really in the wars here at the start.
And the Jaguar jumped over the back of Coulthard's car, so I would imagine it was the right front of Webber, caught the back of the McLaren. Ralf Schumacher led by 1.1 seconds, and it's more than that now. Over the line they'll go at the end of this pit straight. Schumacher very fast with a 1:14.7. The gap up to 1.8 seconds, and that is bad news for us all. There's a man who's going to feature strongly in the Grand Prix this afternoon. Yep. Jarno Trulli out of the race.
Yeah, winner in Monte Carlo, famously his first Grand Prix victory. He's not going to make it two today. There's Webber, he's taken on a new right front, and he is back out on track. Look at this though. That's Takuma Sato, I believe, battling with David Coulthard, battle for 13th place on the grid. So from the pit lane, Takuma Sato already up into 14th.
Yes, that was for position there. I think that was a replay they just snuck in there, James. Coulthard past Sato down in turn 1, and Ted has some news.
Team Renault need to speak to Trulli before he comes out. He's just walking past the McLaren garage right in front of me. He puts his hands up to his engineer, Alan Permain. The way they start is to ride the clutch, but they think it's more to do with gearbox. In fact, if I read some lips, I think I can say Jarno saying gearbox, but we'll have to wait until he speaks to Lou.
Yes, if you watch the replay, it does seem to lock up at the back. It actually is. He did very well to clear that car off the racing line because he had full acceleration. Then you can just see the back end skidding around as the transmission appears to lock. Bad news. They do a lot of practice starts through a weekend. They lay rubber down in the pit lane to give them a tenth or two after their pit stop, and you do wonder if they punish their transmission too hard.
Fantastic start for Ralf Schumacher, just what he needed. A lot of people are expecting him to fade this afternoon. The Williams, not a particularly fast race car at the moment, but well, so we certainly believe he's carrying a little bit less fuel than the people chasing him. There's a replay of Klein having yet another incident then.
Yeah, and I think Klein's made some space there. This is Webber coming in with the right front puncture, delamination there, but I'm sure that was because he clumped over the back of Coulthard in turn 1.
Well, we've seen Jarno Trulli retiring. Louise can tell us why.
Jarno, what can you tell us?
Suspension failure. It's very strange, it never happened before. But when I pulled the clutch, left it, the suspension just gone. So it just came down, the car was touching, and I had to get out of the traffic to avoid the accident.
Bad luck, Jarno, that you have a James suspension.
Well, that is absolutely, he says he's never seen it before. I don't think I've seen that before, a suspension braking under acceleration like that from a start line position. That is most unusual, so what a shame. Well,
the mechanics are allowed, they're not allowed to do any work on the cars in Parc Fermé overnight after qualifying, but they are allowed to inspect them and just check that all the bolts are done up tightly and everything's okay. So, as you say, a very strange one, but the car did look funny, didn't it? It suddenly went squatted down a little bit at the front. It was hard to see exactly what the problem was, but there you have it. That's a very strange one. I'm sure the boys at Enstone will be having a very, very close look at that.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to have been in his position there, James. He was at the front of the pack, car fails, pulls over into new pit lane, 2 cars steaming out of the pit lane to join the race, having had problems, and somehow he managed to stay out of all their way. He did well. Barrichello there getting nicely in the slipstream of Kimi Raikkonen. Raikkonen having to go defensive under braking for the last turn. It wasn't that close in terms of losing the place, but Barrichello obviously shaping up nicely. I just wonder if Ralf and Jensen, if we're right about their fuel load, James, they didn't ought to be a bit further out front than this at the moment. I would think Ferrari will be sitting there in 5th and 7th, 5 odd seconds away from the lead, feeling pretty good with life.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. Certainly we needed 2 Renaults between Michael Schumacher in the front to really make a race of it this afternoon. Let's see how things unfold. It's interesting for Raikkonen's point of view. He seems to be involved in that early melee on the first lap, and now he's got himself ahead of Rubens Barrichello, who started ahead of him on the grid. So good effort. Look at this side by side. Barrichello and Raikkonen. Raikkonen goes very deep, as if to take Rubens off down the escape road.
Yeah, he hung him out to dry, which he had to do to give himself some breathing space on the exit. And you wonder if Raikkonen's shaping up with some kind of engine problem, because he's so slow in a straight line as Kimi Raikkonen. Barrichello's driven clean past him. So I think there's a problem with Raikkonen brewing up.
We believe from our F1 ITV pit crew that Mark Webber, you just saw him briefly there, has a suspension problem.
Yes, I think it was Klein that actually jumped over the back of Coulthard at the first corner, and then somebody else ran into Mark, which gave him the puncture, and clearly some kind of... The suspension is so weak, except for in its designed direction of operation. Brakes like an egg. You could brake it with your foot. Just walk up to that car, brake the suspension with your foot if you wanted to. Ralf Schumacher leads by 3.7 seconds from Button. Alonso third, Montoya fourth, Michael Schumacher. You can now see them, the two Ferraris, Schumacher and Barrichello, 5 and 6, with a fading Raikkonen, then the two Toyotas, 8 and 9. Coulthard pits then. Coulthard pits from P12. The first of the scheduled stoppers of the afternoon. Back end just stepping out as he hammers the brake pedal to stop, and it looks so fast when you stand down there. They're so brave, the mechanics, just watching this Formula 1 car coming at them, and away he goes then. No problems for Coulthard and McLaren, but he's got a lot of work to do this afternoon to get anywhere near some World Championship points.
Certainly has. Started 9th on the grid, lost 6 places at the start, 7 places, I beg your pardon, at the start with that incident with Klein. And another tough afternoon for David Coulthard in Montreal. Ralf Schumacher goes through to start another lap, so he's completed 12 laps now. This is around about the time that most people thought he would be coming in for his first stop. Look how Barrichello has got himself right onto the back of Michael Schumacher. The two Ferraris biding their time at the moment then.
Raikkonen pits. So McLaren then with the least fuel of anybody, and Raikkonen pits from P7. Again, they are so badly looking forward to their new 19B car that they're going to race, I think, in Manicourt, and they're really struggling, McLaren, for pace and reliability at the moment, although they've not had too many issues this weekend. But first to pit then, it's surprising to see the Williams and the BARs going so far for me, James.
Yeah, absolutely, that is a surprise.
And I see the BAR team in the far distance there coming out into the pit lane, certainly somebody in the middle of the lane, and Button in then. Jenson Button pits. The Ferrari smiles will get slightly wider, I think, now to see him going in for some fuel.
And Montoya as well. You can see him at the top of your screens there. One Montoya pits was in 4th place, and Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello in the Ferrari slide past. They've probably got another 6 or 7 laps. Bit of a delay, is it, from the Montoya stop? No, seems to be going okay. He obviously stopped a little bit later than Button. There he is, and back out on the track, so no position change there. Meanwhile, we've got you can see them rejoining. Ralf Schumacher leading the Grand Prix on lap 14, 5.8 seconds the margin over Alonso in second. Michael Schumacher up to third now, but look at this, the fastest first sector of the race so far. Schumacher is beginning to put the hammer down here in Montreal on lap 14.
Ralf Schumacher then lapping the Minardi. There's marshals on the track down here where Ralf Schumacher's just coming to, but he goes in the pit lane. Ralf Schumacher into the pit lane, then the marshals have cleared that debris away from the final chicane, and once again then Michael Schumacher still pumping in very quick laps out there. This is a crucial time of the Grand Prix. They need to get Ralf out, hopefully not in too much traffic. All looks sweet at the front, doesn't it? They turn the lollipop over, select first gear, and away he goes. That looked good.
Looked very good indeed, but it wasn't a particularly spectacular in-lap for Ralf Schumacher, so we'll see where that feeds him back into the picture. You can see he rejoins comfortably in front of Jenson Button.
I tell you who's looking racy, James, is Barrichello. He's looking extremely racy. He's hustling Michael. Looks like he's got a bit in hand as well. Alonso not able to pull away. Michael still popping in great sector times, but Rubens comfortably there with him.
Yes, he is looking good, isn't he? Rubens Barrichello yet to notch up first victory of 2004. Another piece of bodywork there just lying on the left-hand side of the racetrack. You don't want to run over those. They put slices in the tyres, cause all sorts of trouble. Big crowd here today. Seeing some good action in the grandstands. Absolute sellout here in Montreal. They really have embraced this event this year. Terrific to see. As race leader Alonso comes into the pits. So Michael Schumacher now leading in Montreal as Alonso comes down the pit lane. This is lap 18 of the Grand Prix. Sole Renault then makes his stop, and that's good news for the Ferraris. How much longer can they go? Problem there with the fuel hose, is it? A little bit slow going on, yes. A lot of time being lost here. And Alonso, total stationary time, 16 seconds. Meanwhile, we've got an incident involving car number 6 under investigation by the stewards. That's Kimi Raikkonen.
And and Ted is down in the pits.
Oh, it's so unfortunate for Renault. They just couldn't get the original Alonso race nozzle on. It wouldn't go. The guy pushed and pushed. It just wouldn't happen. But anyway, they went very quickly onto the spare nozzle. That connected, but as you say, 16 costly seconds.
And the Barrichello pits from second place. Then meanwhile, Michael Schumacher smashes the lap record in 1 minute 13.6. Incredible time from him. And Barrichello was right behind him, looking extremely racy. And away he goes then. Remember, they're two stopping, so it's not surprising they're taking on a bit more fuel and stationing a little bit longer than the others. And it's all playing beautifully into the hands of Ferrari at the moment. And look, this is a drag race down to turn 3, which the Williams wins.
Absolutely. Well, Michael Schumacher then is going to have to make a stop fairly soon, and when he does, he's going to come out, I think, behind Jenson Button, because Button currently in third place, 18 seconds behind the Ferrari driver. He was leading him before the first round of pit stops. Look how hard Schumacher is trying, but you need about 19 or 20 seconds really in your pocket to make a stop and rejoin here in Montreal. So Schumacher, that is why he's pushing so hard. He wants to clear Button when he comes out.
And he'll be going in the pit lane, I believe, at the end of this straight. Indeed, he does. So Barrichello came out of the pits right with, I believe, Ralf Schumacher. Surely Michael Schumacher's got a great chance of being, in fact, it was Montoya. So Michael may well not take the lead at this stage of the Grand Prix. So a pivotal time then. The Ferrari team need to get him out in 8-point-something seconds if it's going to be a good one. On go some scrub tyres and lots of fuel going in the car. Quite a long stop for Michael. Where is he going to work out on the racetrack when he rejoins?
Well, he's going to be behind Ralf Schumacher. There's Jenson Button, he's behind him as well. And there you can see Rubens Barrichello just going through the top of your screen. So he slots back into third place in front of Rubens Barrichello.
Montoya for his second of 3 stops in this Grand Prix. And you have to say the Ferraris are still looking very strong, but not as strong as they were. Some gently scrubbed tyres going on there, and Ted is there.
I'm down in the Ferrari garage. Oh, they're a bit slow getting the hose away, but a good stop from Montoya. I'm in the Ferrari garage. There are no problems with Michael Schumacher's car. As we say, he's just fat with fuel.
Okay, thanks for that, Ted. Kimi Räikkönen pits also. He was 7th. And so he's stopped. He's been through the pits for his 3rd time, 2nd schedule stop. And of course he had a drive-through penalty for cutting the white line on the exit of the pits. The car bounces down on the ground. That knocks all the air out of your lungs when it does that, when they drop it off the front and rear jacks. But at least you know you're about ready to go.
He's not doing a bad job, is he, Martin? He was 7th drive-through penalty. He comes very close to crossing that white line again. That's what cost him the drive-through penalty last time. But he was up to 7th place again, having had a drive-through. Terrific effort.
Button, I thought I saw, yes. Button goes in the pits in the background, and there he is. Jenson Button then stopping at the end of lap 31.
This is important for Michael Schumacher because Button was 8 seconds ahead of him on the racetrack, and obviously Michael's not going to have to stop again for a while.
It's very, I was looking at, oh no, what's that? It's away, but it seemed as if he had some kind of hiccup there getting away, Jenson Button. Does it accelerate cleanly? Yes, it does. Cost him a half a second or something, but just looking at all the cars, wide side pods, you've got to get a long way over with the heavy fuel hose. And now with the way the aerodynamics are on these cars, all the chimneys they have on the side, James, and the little appendages, little wings, you can see that the refuelers really have a tricky job getting near the nozzle on these latest Formula One cars, and I think it's costing them dearly on many of these pit stops.
Well, first time round we saw Button pitting a lap before Ralf Schumacher. No sign of the Williams, but now they're coming out into the pit lane, the Williams guys. So we're expecting the race leader then on lap 32 to come in possibly and make a second stop of the afternoon. He's enjoying a 12.5-second lead over his brother. No, he's going through for another lap. But the Williams guys are still certainly standing out there and ready for him. So he's got 12.5 seconds in his pocket over his brother. And this is the phase of the Grand Prix where if Michael Schumacher is going to win, he has to really put the hammer down. Ralf Schumacher's going to make another stop to him this afternoon, but still, Michael needs to pick up the speed now. He's still lapping in the 1 minute 15s, considerably slower than his brother, considerably slower than Button was going as well. Is Michael Schumacher managing the car, or is there some kind of small problem? Into the pits then comes David Coulthard, and Ralf Schumacher, the race leader, also into the pits on lap 33.
See, the problem for Ralf, as we're watching Coulthard's second stop, problem for when you're on a 2 and they're on a 3. Sorry, you're on a 3 and they're on a 2. At some point, you've got to pass them, James, if they've got track position, and that's what it's going to be all about later on in this Grand Prix. So Ferrari then now taking up first and second position again. Where is Jenson Button in all of that? He looks like he's lost out in terms of he's even further behind Ralf Schumacher than he was before the pit stops.
Yeah, he's now 7 seconds behind Ralf Schumacher, so we saw him slow away from the stop, Jenson Button. He was just 3 seconds behind before it, so it's cost him 4 seconds, that little stuttering leave of the pits. He's now behind Michael Schumacher, he's behind Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher, Alonso and Jenson Button in 5th place, with Montoya 7 seconds behind him. So the 2 Ferraris at the front. What's going on there, I wonder? It's Michael Schumacher. We've seen him, his sports car experience over the years. He knows how to protect a car, doesn't he? But look at how busy it is on the pit lane exit. And the Jaguar of Klein and Coulthard once again. They have been very close to each other in that area of the first corner a lot this afternoon. Martin Brundle and I are speculating that there's something not quite right about Michael Schumacher's Ferrari today. He's been lapping about a second off the pace he was on at this stage of his first stint, and we're absolutely sure that Rubens Barrichello has a faster car under him here this afternoon, but Ferrari are not telling Michael Schumacher to let Rubens Barrichello through. He had a little tentative look at Michael a minute ago. You can see how close he is, but look how close also the Williams team are as well. So the spotlight really on Ferrari here at the moment.
Yes, they're playing into Ralf Schumacher's hands here. You can see Ralf just in the background. All the key players, we've got 6 drivers still in contention here. Michael Schumacher, Barrichello, Ralf Schumacher, Alonso, Button and Montoya. They've all got to make one more stop this afternoon. There's 20 seconds between the lot of them. I think we're going to see some pretty frantic action. But Barrichello will be sitting there very frustratedly because he can see Ralf Schumacher coasting up behind him. And I just wonder why Ferrari why Michael hasn't taken the decision. It doesn't have to be the team to just let him go.
Well, Ralf Schumacher, when he gets the lead back, is going to need a 20-second advantage as Michael Schumacher gets a little bit held up by the Minardi there of Zsolt Baumgartner, being lapped for the 2nd time here this afternoon. And
Rubens has got a good toe there. Sorry to cut across you, James. Rubens really nicely in the slipstream, but can't do anything about it. Now, he's been breaking too deep into the hairpin at the end of this next straight. You've got to keep it neat and tidy and have another run on Michael into the final chicane. There we go. And again, the front just runs wide. Look, it's cost him dearly. Gets a better, cleaner run on the exit. But Rubens just a touch too hot into that hairpin, spoiling his chance of passing Michael down into the final chicane. Still, he's close.
Yeah, the telltale Michael Schumacher looking in his mirrors. You don't see that very often, do you? Michael Schumacher knows he's in a scrap here. Rubens Barrichello looks pretty comfortable. He obviously feels he's got a faster car. Rips one of the plastic tear-off strips off his visor as he gets down to business. He obviously wants a clear view then of the back of his team leader's Ferrari. Ralf Schumacher gets past the Minardi as well. He's racing hard here this afternoon. By far his best performance of the 2004 season so far, which frankly everyone's been describing as lackluster. I know there's been a poll in one of the magazines going on there, the sort of half-term report, and Ralf Schumacher's been coming out 18th and 19th in some people's assessments, but here today he really has reminded everyone of his class.
Bad news for the Brits. Button not fast at this stage of the Grand Prix, but watch out for Alonso. We haven't spoken much about him since he lost 8 seconds with a fuel problem in the pits. Nothing to do with him. And there you can see him, Alonso, starting to absolutely fly. 1.5 seconds faster than Schumacher, Barrichello and Ralf Schumacher up at the front. He's hauling himself back into contention, is Fernando Alonso in 4th place there, just with a back marker in front of him.
Yeah, well, it can all be lost in a pit stop, can't it? Now, normal Ferrari tactics are that the 2 drivers are allowed to fight against each other up until the 2nd round of pit stops, and thereafter they're told to hold station if they're together.
And that is Sato getting in way too deep in front of the leaders. So Sato then, who is in 11th place and was fighting with Panis for 10th.
Well, another 360 spin then for Takuma Sato. That's going to start being nicknamed the Sato moment, I think. fairly soon. He dropped it right here in the final corner yesterday in qualifying when he was on for pole position, as he had been in Monte Carlo, as he had been at the Nürburgring, and couldn't quite make it stick once again. Look at Barrichello, so close to the back of Schumacher, and perhaps his time is running out as Sato pits then after that incident. Perhaps the time just ebbing away from Rubens Barrichello to have a chance. He's got to have a go at Michael Schumacher before the second round of stops, because as I said before, that's generally speaking where they tell the drivers to hold station.
And here you see then Sato nicely up the inside, but just way too late in the brakes. Total miracle he didn't wipe out the Jordan. No luck, no skill involved in that, all luck, I have to say. And we then got Klein bouncing across. We've seen two broken chassis this weekend through moments like that. Rubens then from second place. And if it's true that they're allowed to race to the second stop or the final stop, then his moment has gone. But there's still plenty of laps to go. Ted is down there.
I've been to Ferrari yet again. They still insist there are no technical problems with Michael Schumacher's car. But I've said, I see as Alonso off, but I've said to them, can they race? And the team representative gave me a kind of funny Italian look, like, why are you asking me that?
Critically, though, he comes out, Michael Schumacher comes out, I think behind Montoya was that?
Barrichello it was.
Barrichello, yeah. Sorry, comes out behind Montoya, and that will irritate him no end. Michael Schumacher leading the Grand Prix. Barrichello had to make the first of the two stops, and he's come out behind Juan Montoya, who we believe also has to stop again.
Yeah. So that's quite pivotal. That not clearing Montoya there is quite important, and that is such a shame. Alonso was steaming up behind the leaders.
Well, with Alonso removed from the equation, the only other front-running car apart from Barrichello on the same strategy, you can see Michael Schumacher, whoa, very nearly hit the pit wall.
I wonder if he slowed that down enough as he went over the line. Even if he's 1 kilometre over, he'll get nailed for speeding in the pit lane. Did Michael get it fully slowed down as he crossed the line? We'll have to wait and see. But the pit stop then underway, and this is his final one of the afternoon. Ralf Schumacher resumes the lead, and away he goes in a solid 8.5 stop. Just what you'd expect for a two-stopper. And look, what's happening in the background is...
Jenson Button.
Was that Jenson or not? Too long a shot, couldn't tell.
Yeah, difficult to say. Certainly Jenson Button is running in third place at the moment in this Grand Prix, but the speed just isn't there today. It's frustrating for BAR, isn't it? They're lapping in the high 1:14s, and they seem to have better race pace than that. It's been another one of those weekends then when BAR just can't get two cars at the front of the grid. I know it's frustrating the team no end. As you can see, Barrichello having a little off-piste moment. But wherever Sato's been faster at the front of the grid, Button's had a bad day in qualifying. Wherever Button's been at the front, Sato's had a bad day. They just can't get the two cars at the front like the Renault team can do and like the Ferrari team can do.
Yeah, that would have cost Rubens dearly, wouldn't it? Those few seconds he lost there, taking him out of contention for a swipe at Michael as the leader pits then. The end of lap 48, Ralf Schumacher pits.
Very interesting. Did you see as Ralf came into the pits there? It was a very fast shot, but there was a big black skid mark right into the pit lane entry, and it looks like where Michael Schumacher obviously very nearly hit the pit wall. Did he get the car slowed down enough? That's the big question, I guess, and hopefully we will find an answer at some point.
Well, if that 9.3 is right, that wasn't a good stop from Williams there, and out comes Ralf Schumacher then. So 3 times, that's all he's going to do now, so he's got to go racing. And where does he fit back in to the equation? Presumably he's behind the Ferraris.
Certainly behind Michael Schumacher, Button, Montoya, Ralf Schumacher then being shown as the top 4. You can see the stops they've made. Rubens Barrichello with his problems has dropped down to 5th. He certainly gets the lion's share of the bad luck, doesn't he, Rubens Barrichello? That's the rest of the field. Coulthard's having a good afternoon after a very, very bad start where Klein hit him. And other incidents as well. Poor pit stop. And Coulthard racing in 9th place. Yet to make his 3rd stop of the afternoon, though, which will certainly drop him down.
Fisichella is 6th at the moment. He's pitted once. Raikkonen's pitted 4 times. So, and they're still just a few seconds, they're 9 seconds apart. So that's a bit of a different strategy for you. As a Button then makes his final stop He was just 2.6 seconds adrift, and Montoya right behind him. This is a mechanics race.
Yeah, straight fight between the BAR boys and the Williams boys. They certainly haven't been too shabby, either of them, throughout the season. Button stopped first. A little bit slow coming off the front left, and Button's going again. They release Montoya. Ah! Frustration for Montoya, and frustration for the Williams mechanics too. And you can see they came in right together, but Button's leaving a little ahead.
Crucial stop then for the BAR team, but these two have, and that must be, is that down at turn 3? Would that be, we think that's Sato. If it is, he's the one that, it is indeed Sato, because that's Jensen going through our foreground there. So yet again, Sato struggling with his engine. Michael's lead over his brother then just 7 seconds, but it's pretty static, isn't there? A 10th there and a 10th there, backwards and forwards, and you just sense that Ralph has mentally accepted second place here. He would have been surprised, I think, just how far he was behind Michael after his 3rd stop. Michael putting in those hot laps when he needed it. Rubens off the road, he was hustling Michael for all he was worth, and then made an error and dropped right out of contention, 13 seconds adrift. So the best fight on the racetrack then is Button and Montoya for 4th and 5th at the moment. Schumacher at the front, apparently not really now seriously under threat or pressure, just nursing his brakes, in particular home. Strong showing from Williams this afternoon. 2nd at the moment for Ralf Schumacher, Montoya 5th. And they just found the sweet spot, didn't they, with setup, literally in the closing minutes before yesterday's first qualifying session, and they've been strong all afternoon.
Well, Ralf Schumacher saying yesterday that there hasn't been too much development on this car of late, but there's got new things coming along for France and other Grand Prix. You can see the left hand of Montoya there, just making some adjustments probably to the brake bias, presumably moving it back a little bit, just gives the front brakes a bit of a breather. Lovely onboard shot then, 18,002 on the clock at the red line for the BMW engine. Powering out across the pit straight he goes, 190 miles an hour before he throws out the anchors here into turn 1, 60 miles an hour into turn 1, and look how close he is to the back of Jenson Button. This is the battle for 4th place and the principal interest in the closing stages then of this Grand Prix. And is Montoya going to be able to put a move on the BAR of Jenson Button, who really, frankly, at the moment is lapping, well, pretty reasonable pace. So it's just that Montoya is having one of those Montoya moments. The raging bull of Formula One has got something to drive for.
Yeah, he'll not be a happy bunny that Ralph's outperformed him through this Grand Prix weekend either. Ralph, though, just 8.4 seconds down on his brother Michael up front. 2 reasonable scraps, and Barrichello can't make an impression on Ralf Schumacher, though. Michael Schumacher, Ralf Schumacher 2nd, Barrichello 3rd. This is the main scrap now. Button 4th, Montoya 5th, and let's hear from Ted.
Yeah, down in the Williams garage with the special projects engineer Frank Durney. Frank, Michael's obviously nursing the car, maybe a brakes problem. Why aren't you telling Ralph to really push hard?
Oh, we are telling Ralph to really push hard. He's pushing. Our car's pretty healthy. We've got no problems, and Ralph's just pushing.
Is Ralph susceptible to Rubens, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think he's not really invulnerable at all.
What about Montoya's race?
Well, he's pushing Button now. It's getting quite exciting. I think he's going to have a good go.
OK, we'll look forward to that. Thanks, Frank.
Montoya, though, trying to get closer and closer to Jenson Button. You can see it's all about the exit speed from that hairpin, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm looking at, we've got a yellow flag out for somebody. I thought I saw somebody outbrake themselves down at the hairpin. That's a big shunt with some wheels off. Down at the far end of the racetrack. It's very skinny there, the runoff area, but going in nose first, the driver should be okay. That's a Sauber of Massa, Felipe Massa from P12, and we just caught the side of him doing that behind the Button at Montoya scrap, and I think Massa's still in the car at the moment, but I think he's talking to the team, giving them some information before they disconnect his radio. The cars are supremely strong in that at that angle. We've now got a safety car standby scenario, as you can see at the bottom of your screen. That is why the yellow flags are there then, and the safety car has been stood down. Now they've got Massa out of the Grand Prix. They'll need some heavy double wave yellows down there while they get that car out of the way.
Certainly looked pretty shaken up there, didn't he, Felipe Massa? That was clearly a very big impact. The wheels down the left-hand side of the car missing. And as you say, safety the #1 priority in Formula One. And it's quite incredible what these cars can withstand. Schumacher just 4 laps away then, as the Sauber, look at the damage of that nose. Certainly done its job absorbing the shock. Schumacher just 4 laps away from a historic victory here in Montreal, if not a classic one. Kinds of fun and games going on here still for 4th place between Jenson Button and Juan Montoya, picking their way through lap traffic.
I'm just looking at the computer speeds here, James, while you were talking. Montoya's faster than Button in all of them, particularly critically the back straight, the long back straight. I think if he can get near enough to him, he's got a great chance of slipstreaming past Jenson Button. But JB is keeping it nicely together where it matters in the mid part of the racetrack, and just making sure Montoya can't get a sniff of his slipstream. A little bit of pirouetting going on between Klein and what must have been Heidfeld fighting over. Were they fighting over position? No, Klein's a lap behind him.
Well, I tell you what, Christian Klein has certainly had a number of incidents today, hasn't he? Absolutely extraordinary. There's a replay. Oof! Oh, dear.
That looked like left rear suspension failure, didn't it, for Massa there? His rear wheel was flailing around before. You're coming in there well over 190 miles an hour, so it's a relatively significant impact, but totally survivable.
Heart failure for the cameraman. I think that's a very brave bloke to stay there when that shot, for that shot. Car approaching you at that kind of speed. Jenson Button mirrors full of the man who replaced him in the Williams team back in 2001 after Jenson's debut season. Terrific job he did that first year, outperforming Ralf Schumacher a couple of times. Here in the background you can see Klein doing a full 360, and it's Timo Glock alongside him making his Grand Prix debut. Well, I look forward to seeing Klein in the paddock later and say, what was the highlight of your race then, Christian?
Yeah, I suspect you might be queued up behind David Coulthard to speak to him about the first corner, probably. But Barrichello about to put the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, and so where's he been in the last 10 laps? As he starts to close down Ralf Schumacher. There is Ralf Schumacher, P2, 6.9 seconds behind his brother, and Barrichello you saw in the background there as we're homing in now, but just 2 laps to go. So we'll watch Barrichello over the line as he does something. He just done a new lap record. Explain that one. Where on earth did he suddenly pull that one out of the bag? And if so, as I said, why didn't he do it 10 laps ago and frighten the life out of this Williams?
Absolutely right. There's Ralf Schumacher all on his lonesome now, 6 seconds behind his brother, 4 seconds ahead of Rubens Barrichello, who's probably left it too late, I think. Certainly looking very much like a German victory, and not just any old German victory here for Michael Schumacher. His 7th Canadian Grand Prix success, which would be an absolute record. No one's ever won the same Grand Prix 7 times. And he's had to work for it this afternoon. From 6th place on the grid, they haven't exactly been giving it away. Into the final chicane then for Michael Schumacher. Coming down to cross the line and win that historic 7th Canadian Grand Prix. His 77th career victory. One wonders what might have happened if the 2 Renaults had stayed around long enough to race him. Looks as though Jenson Button is going to beat Juan Montoya to the flag. Ralf Schumacher has already finished in 2nd place. Barrichello has already finished in 3rd. Yet another podium then for Rubens Barrichello.
So it's a Schumacher 1-2, the last one right here in Montreal a year ago. We'll be right back with the drivers' views and Tony Jardine's verdict. And you're back with us at the Ferrari Hospitality Centre in Montreal, where Michael Schumacher has yet another record under his belt. He's become the first driver to win the same Grand Prix 7 times. 1994, 97, 98, 2000, 2002, 3 and 2004. Ralf 2nd, Barrichello 3rd, Button 4th. Those 2 have scored at every race. Montoya 5th, Fisichella 6th, a super drive in the Sauber from him. Raikkonen somehow got a couple. D'Amato, the last scorer for Toyota. Career victory number 77 for the world champion after a very hard day at work.
Michael, very much a strategic victory today.
Not only, I think it was a hard fight on the circuit as well. And thanks to a consistent pace due to our tyres and car, we were able to pull out the win.
Good fillip for the team, second.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a great result. Definitely not expected before the weekend. But then if you start from pole position and lead most of the race, you would love to finish first. But it just didn't work out. I mean, we were simply not strong enough against the Ferraris yet.
Rubens, we were jumping up and down, shouting, "Go Rubinho, go on, have a go at Michael." Why wasn't it possible to complete the move?
Well, because at the end of the day, you have same car, same engine, and same everything. You saw that I overtook Kimi on a different package, on the same package with a driver on his caliber. It's very difficult. Even though I tried really hard, and I only had a real chance, only one chance. I thought I had managed to overtake him, but he was brave enough to keep on going on the outside. So I told him that won't happen again.
David, not the best of starts for you.
No, my start was okay, but turn two it's always a bit difficult. And one of the Jaguars, I think it may have been Calvin, ran at the back of me. I think very difficult to see what's going on behind you, but I definitely got spun round from behind.
So problems right from the start of the race. I mean, were you playing catch up from then on?
Yeah, I was pretty much at the back of the field, I think. So on a three-stop strategy from the back, you're always going to be in a bit of trouble.
The bulletproof Renaults have let you down this weekend, haven't they? What was your problem?
I had a dry shaft problem, and I finished the race. I don't know what Jarno had, but you know, unfortunately we didn't finish in the points, and we have to look for the next Grand Prix. We are competitive, so we have to be optimistic in these bad moments.
So, gents, what was your verdict?
That was really tough. The first stint I was struggling with a lot of oversteer. As soon as I hit the brakes, I had a big amount of oversteer, and that continued through the exit. So it's not what you want really, especially in the first stint. So we backed off the wing in the second stint, and it was a bit better, but just gave me a bit of understeer, and I kept the oversteer, which was really strange. So we're not quite there in this race.
Juan Pablo, were you chasing Jensen hard at the end there, but settled for fifth?
No, there's nothing. You know, it was too equal. My lowest, my weakest point was traction all day. So anywhere I would get close, even with Michael, as soon as we put the power down, I would lose 2-3 car lengths, then all the way around the lap until I get to another slow corner and then lose it again. So it was fun, you know. We tried pretty hard. You know, yesterday I made a mistake in qualifying, and I was in the middle of the pack. I couldn't do anything else.
On the whole, are you pleased with the result, or a bit disappointed, bearing in mind you started on the front row?
It's not so much that we started on the front row, it's just our pace compared to the Ferrari, who obviously did a great strategy, and also the Williams. You know, we didn't expect to be slower than them here, so it's a little bit disappointing, but we need to look at what we did wrong and hopefully change it for Indianapolis.
Well, he's unstoppable at the moment. 7 wins out of 8 equals 70 points from Michael Schumacher. Teammate Barrichello now 18 points behind. Button on 43, very respectable lad in third. Trulli 36, Montoya 28. He's being pushed by Alonso on 25. Ralf Schumacher improving to 20, and Sato and Fisichella both on 8 points. Have a look at that in the constructors. Ferrari twice as many as Renault, 122 plays 61. BAR past the 50 mark on third place, 48 Williams. They're very close to BAR. Sauber in fifth, McLaren, Toyota, Jaguar and Jordan ninth. Tony, let's go right back to the start of the Canadian Grand Prix. We were wondering about the Renaults. Trulli's so reliable, didn't get very far today though.
And starting from third, he could have caused a lot more problems for the field than he did. Don't forget the Ferraris were starting 6th and 7th place. Just look at this, it goes snap, the suspension. I thought it was transmission at the time. Alonso nearly hit the back of him, and somehow the field all got round him, only for there to be more dramas further back, with Christian Klien hitting both of the McLarens. You can see at the back in the melee, they all started together, 8th, 9th and 10th, and there we are, and look up into the air. That's poor old Mark Webber, and he ultimately had to retire as a consequence of that.
We're used to that sort of thing at the first corner in Canada. We then looked at Fernando Alonso. He had a problem in the pits, and just when he seemed to be making a charge towards the Ferraris, his race ended too.
Tremendous shame. here because they had a great deal of difficulty getting his nozzle on the Intertechnique equipment, which is common to all the teams. They had to then put Trulli's nozzle onto Alonso and get him away. It was something like 19 seconds he was standing in there. And then at the end, a drive shaft fails. Now, whether that's a consequence of the increased power they've got from the Renault engine, we don't know. But certainly out he went. Great shame. And he was attacking from fourth.
What did you make of the interplay between Rubens of Barrichello and Michael Schumacher?
I thought it was a great protest by Rubens. He's lurking behind here somewhere at Ferrari. He was saying, look, I'm much quicker than you. Let me go. I can get past. We're talking about a guy that, you know, won 2 races last year from pole position. British Grand Prix where he was superb. Japan where he was superb. Just showing his nose to Michael Schumacher there and giving Michael a really hard time. And even if there were no radio messages saying stay behind Rubens, he probably thought better of it because he'd get a massive telling off if he'd have gone past the team leader.
Sure, we're surrounded by Ferrari red at the moment. I think Felipe Massa's a driver who'd love to wear that particular livery, wouldn't he? And he had a nasty, nasty moment in the Sauber here.
Yeah, and he's just come back from a nasty crash and testing in Monza as well. He was doing some testing up there, and he had a big crash like this at Monte Carlo in 2002, and he went straight in. He's gone to the local hospital. He grazed his elbow, just checking him out for concussion. Straight in again, showing the strength of the current Formula One cars, showing how tough this circuit is on brakes, and showing how little runoff area you have. It's a semi-street circuit here.
He's okay, though, I'm delighted to say. Button on the front row, his race never really caught fire.
No, we were hoping, and so with the team, that they'd sorted out this race pace problem where they could really keep up the pace throughout and charge, but they couldn't. Jensen talked about understeer problems with the front wing. Ultimately, they dropped backwards.
Worst ever starting position in Canada for Michael Schumacher. Didn't matter in the end.
No, they did their homework. They said they'd done. They're absolutely superb. The 35-year-old, 77 Grand Prix wins. He's pointing across. He knows Rubens gave him a hard time there, but afterwards they're all chums. They're all friends. It is a superb team. They have done a great job. And, of course, Michael Schumacher loves coming to North America. Hardly anyone knows him apart from in Canada. He'll put his Stetson on and he'll go horse riding after this, I don't doubt, in Texas.
Well, we're staying in this part of the world, aren't we, for next weekend for the United States Grand Prix at Indianapolis. Coverage of qualifying midnight on the Saturday. The race live, a good time that as well. 5 o'clock on ITV1 and the highlights around midnight. No matter where he starts, Michael Schumacher is a winner. Good job, they say in these parts. See you at Indy. Good night.